The Miami Heat are catching a little bit of disrespect in a brand new article written by ESPN predicting how every major award is going to go next season and who's going to be in the run for those awards. I'm here to break down all of it on this episode of Heat Digest, so let's get to it and break down the way too early award previews. Now, I call it the way too early award previews because we're still 60 plus days away from the opening night of the NBA season. So, again, we are still a ways out. We don't know what the final rosters are going to look like going into next season yet because things can still happen. But now let's get to it and break down what this actually looks like. So, for the title, NBA predictions for the 2024-2025, our experts pick for MVP in every major award this season. So, we get into it. We break down who will be the Rookie of the Year. Now, this is the first spot where the Miami Heat seem to be disrespected just a little bit, as we have a healthy amount of rookies available on this Miami Heat squad this year. Obviously, there's a few of them still on a two-way contract, so they're not on the official 40-man roster in the sense that they're on the Miami Heat squad, but they have the chance to be called up at some point even before the season starts, if not after the season begins. And again, Keyshawn Johnson, Palo Larson, Zion Pullen, Isaiah Stevens, and obviously Khalil Ware are all very promising rookies that were drafted by this Miami Heat team or taken after going undrafted in this past year's draft. And again, none of those players are found on this top six in the players looking to win the Rookie of the Year. This little article goes on to say Victor Wembanyama ran away with last year's Rookie of the Year race, obviously, as he was the clear-cut finalist and really the award winner from the day opening season started. But again, this year it's going to be a bit different, as there wasn't a conscientious number one overall pick going into this past year's draft. And after watching the Summer League performances from all of the rookies, it seems like this is going to be a very, very tight race. And that is why I'm still so confused and am taking it a little bit as disrespect towards the Miami Heat on why Khalil Ware is not even mentioned in this top six, or I should say wasn't voted into this top six. So very, very interesting. If you do look, obviously Reed Shepherd was is the number one spot in this race for the Houston Rockets. Obviously, the number 3 overall draft pick from this past year's draft, where he had 74 points, which was 62% of the first place votes went to Shepherd. So again, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very competitive amongst all rookies, I believe, this year. I think it's not going to be like last year, which honestly I really enjoyed. Obviously, during the first half of the season, it was Wembanyama, it was Jaquez, it was Chet. We didn't really know if it was going to be competitive, and then right before that All-Star break, things really got drastic in the sense that Chet and Jaime were really just competing to be the second best rookie, and Victor Wembanyama was by far and away the best rookie. He was going to win the award. He was going to battle for Defensive Player of the Year, and he obviously was a stellar performer last year at such a young age. So again, this year, I think this Rookie of the Year race is going to be drastically different, and once again, I think the Miami Heat are going to have at least one, if not more than one, rookies on or in this race to win the Rookie of the Year. Let me down in the comments what you guys think about their top six, not including any of the Miami Heat rookies and the rookies they do have involved. Do you think it's going to translate, and do you think it'll look this way towards the middle, if not the end of next season, when the Rookie of the Year race is coming to a close? But then we move on to who will win the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, Bam Adebayo's name is on this list. If it wasn't, we probably would have opened up with that, and I probably would have been irate, because that would just be blasphemous. That would just be outrageous. There's no other way around it. Bam Adebayo should be, if not the 1 spot, the 2 spot on this Defensive Player of the Year list. Year after year, we see Bam Adebayo go out and perform at an extremely, extremely high level. This is his stats year by year. The reason I use this graphic is because at the end under awards, you can see he was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year multiple times for the last 5 years, as well as making defensive first and second teams. He has been stellar. There's no way around it. And again, it's different than players like Rudy Gobert, who has now won 3 consecutive Defensive Player of the Years. But once they get into the playoffs, everything changes. Rudy becomes a liability. He's a liability in the Olympics even before they're playing Team USA. He is a liability on the defensive end. Obviously, you don't see that with players like Victor Wembanyama or Bam Adebayo. They are able to translate their defense not only inside the three-point line and inside the painted area, but as well as outside the three-point line and just getting the job done on the defensive end really from start to finish. And doesn't matter if they do get switched onto those small forwards or those power forwards or even those centers, regardless of who we're discussing, it being Wembanyama or Adebayo especially, they have an ability to be able to just play lockdown defense. And again, Bam Adebayo, a little bit more of a highlight, a little bit more of an example of someone who you can really rely on to, if you set have your point guard set screens on your a center who does know how to handle the ball, or your power forward like a Golden State Warriors type of offense. You can see how Bam Adebayo would be extremely useful in the sense of being able to switch on to guards. I know no one can really stop Steph Curry, but again, leaving Bam Adebayo out there on the wing, it's not really just leaving him on an island. He has a legitimate chance to make a great defensive play with the length and size and really just defensive capabilities that he has. So in this list, he was put at the 3rd spot. And again, I still think that is a bit disrespectful. I believe he's a much better defender than Rudy Gobert. I don't care what the stats are during the regular season. He might be great statistically on the defensive end when it comes to blocks, defensive rebounding, and just the defensive impact on altering shots. But if you watch the entirety of the games and you watch those big time scenarios when they're playing against big time teams and in positions they need stops, he's either in foul trouble, off the floor due to schematic reasons, or it's just an all out pick 'em. It's literally come set the screen. I want Rudy Gobert on a switch, and I'm going to cook him. And there's no other way around it. We saw it in the playoffs this past year. We saw it in the end of the regular season this past year. In the years prior, in the last 3 years prior, when we've seen him win the Defensive Player of the Year, we've seen him get abused on the defensive end as a defensive liability against small guards, small forwards who can handle the basketball effectively and move agilely, as well as players like Anthony Edwards, and just obviously players who can't be guarded in their own right, and Kevin Durant and whoever else it may be. Again, you do not see that with Bam Adebayo, and once again, he's been in the running for this award for so long, but he's just been so close, but so far year after year. So again, I hope this year is the year that we see Bam Adebayo put everything together and be praised and be awarded for how good he is on the defensive end. So now we move to who will win the Coach of the Year. Thankfully, once again, Eric Spoelstra was not left off of this list, and he is down at the 8th spot, which is a bit interesting, but there are a lot of great coaches on a lot of great teams and a lot of great organizations in the NBA. And again, Eric Spoelstra coming in at the 8th spot. He needs to win a Coach of the Year. There's no other way around it. It's just like the Bam Adebayo Defensive Player of the Year situation. Look at how many times, if you look at rank, this is where he finished in the actual ranking to win the Coach of the Year. Obviously, we have a bunch of top 5 finishes, a bunch of top 10 finishes, only one actually finished outside of the top 10. It's very, 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 very upsetting to see Eric Spoelstra not win a Coach of the Year yet, but be so close, but so far. Obviously, he had a 2nd place finish, another 2nd place finish, a 3rd, a 4th, 8th, a 7th, a 6th. So it's just, he's been everywhere but the top coach in the league, and he has not been awarded for it yet, and he absolutely needs to be. And again, this might be the year where he puts together a great team involving a lot of young players that we highlighted earlier in Keyshawn, Zion, Isaiah, Khalil Ware, Pella Larson, and he is able to make a big run. Maybe we make a big move and we transform this team just a little bit, and we pride ourselves on the young guys that we have, and we end up putting something together and we end up making a big playoff run. I don't know how we would not give someone like Eric Spoelstra the Coach of the Year at that point. But again, I think it's well deserved. He's going to win one before he hangs it up. He's a top 15 coach of all time. That is an award he has won, and he definitely needs a Coach of the Year to seal the deal. But once again, we move on to the 6th man of the year. And this is actually, this was one that I love to see, because if you look in the 4th spot, we have Jaime Jaquez Jr., our sophomore player, who's going into his 2nd year in the NBA, as he was a rookie last year out of the University of UCLA. He averaged just under 12 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 2.5 assists with 1 steal per game, shooting 48.9% from the field and 32% from 3. Obviously, we need him to work on that 3-point shot just a little bit more, but if he comes to the point where he's hitting at that 35 to 38% clip. Jaime Jaquez Jr. could be a lethal player on both ends of the floor, as he's still extremely reliable on the defensive end. At 6'6", only being 23 years of age, he has a willingness and ability to defend outside the three-point line and really anywhere on the floor. It doesn't matter who he's matched up against. He is always capable and willing, accepting the challenge. I think it was a great idea drafting someone like Jaquez and now having him grow up and really develop under someone like Jimmy Butler and players like Josh Richardson. I think he is really going to transcend, and I think this might be one of the years where we see a massive catapult from one of our young guys that we drafted a year or two prior, that was able to really just put the pieces together and accept the culture, play the game that they have been playing their entire life, and just have it work now for a NBA team, in this time especially for the Miami Heat with Jaime Jaquez Jr. We'll go back to that list really quick with Naz Reid, Alex Caruso, and Malik Monk as the only three other players listed in front of Jaquez in the sense of who will win the sixth man of the year. Now, I don't have the most improved player of the year lineup here in the from the article. I don't even know if they had it. I did not see it, but I will say I wouldn't be surprised if Jaquez was also in the running of that. Again, we'll look at his stats one more time very quickly. If he gets this number of points up from 12, just under 12, 11.9 to anywhere from 14 to 18 points, and he gets those rebounds around 4.5 to 5, and he keeps moving the basketball effectively, and he gets around that 3 to 4 mark assist wise, I would not be surprised if he was in the running for the most improved player next year. Especially, I know I just mentioned if obviously his major three statistical numbers go up, obviously points, rebounds, and assists. They don't have to be great jumps, but again, just something slight enough that there's a difference, as well as knocking down the three-point shot at a high clip. He could seriously become one of the best players on this Miami Heat team in the sense of just leadership and how well he plays night in and night out, because he would be coming off the bench, and again, he'd be such a helpful hand to this Miami Heat team in the second unit. I think it would be a drastic notice, and I think he could win multiple awards this up and coming year. But once again, that will be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Please let me know down in the comments what you guys think about each of these awards, with Erik Spoelstra up for Coach of the Year, Bam Adebayo up for his first Defensive Player of the Year, as well as Jaquez for Most Improved, as well as Sixth Man, and just the Rookie of the Year race in general. What do you guys think it's going to look like, as it's going to be extremely competitive to last year? But again, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.